ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਸੋਚ ਟੀਵੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕਾਲੀਰਾਏ। ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਨਵੰਬਰ 24 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬੈਨ ਇੰਡੀਪੈਂਡੈਂਟ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਅਸੈਂਬਲੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਸੋ ਆਓ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ। Welcome to the show, Aaj Kal America, Ben. What I'd like you to do first is give an introduction as to Ben, the candidate, and where sort of Ben comes from, and what Ben proposes to do once sworn in January.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here this morning. Well, as a candidate, this is not my first campaign. I have run against Kevin McCarthy in 2022 and in 2024 this year. I did not survive the primary in either case. This is new terrain for me as an independent, but I feel like I can represent the people in this very conservative district, not only in the U.S. Representative District, but the Supervisory District, which is for most part, very much similar in terms of Kern County. So, I've committed to the no party preference designation, and that's actually where I've been my entire voting life. I am a native Californian, and my sense of what's happening in Kern County is that there are a lot of people in dynasties that have been here for a long time, and the voting tends to be the same. I'm going to look at both sides and do what's right for the people. That's totally where I'm at as a scientist. I have a degree in atmospheric science from the University of California, Davis. I was a weather forecaster through my own private weather forecasting concern in the Central Valley many years ago, and also have done computer work and the development of computer programs in terms of thermodynamics of the atmosphere and that kind of thing. That I am semi-retired now, and I feel like this area is not being represented except by one faction. And although Kern County Supervisors is nonpartisan, I am concerned that the partisan aspects do leak into it. And I've already made a commitment to the nonpartisan governmental structure in that I am a director with the Stelling Springs Community Service District, and I've been a director here for over 6 years now. All our decisions are nonpartisan as much as we can make them, and I just hope that none of that politics ever leaks into our decisions. But we do what's right for the community on a local level. And as a director on the Community Service District, I make decisions as to police, parks and rec, water, sewer, solid trash disposal, roads, all the kinds of things that Kern County supervisors are already responsible for. So I end up coming into this position really as someone who's totally prepared, already experienced in the needs of a community, this community being slightly larger than the one I serve now, but entirely with the same functions. I am also a variance hearing director with the Eastern Kern Air Pollution Control District, which allows me to access the communities throughout the entire Eastern Kern area, a lot of Kern County. And I'm responsible for, in many cases, adjudicating hearings having to do with the community air quality. And that's something I'm really concerned about in terms of the future here in Eastern Kern, because we have good atmospherics in terms of moving air around normally, but the more industry we import into Eastern Kern County, the more important it's going to be to keep tabs on what is coming in so that we can keep that air good, as good as it can be, and frankly, much better than it is in Bakersfield right now. So that's my story. Is that I feel like I'm ready to go for this position with Kern County supervisors. There's no learning curve here for me. It's what I do now in terms of the Stallion Springs Community Service District as one of their directors.
Okay, Ben, on that, in terms of the supervisors and the local districts, one of the issues that's pretty relevant to the Central Valley and the Fresno Bakersfield area is water and agriculture. As a supervisor, how can you lessen the impacts of the water supply to farmers?
Yeah, of course, that is the issue, and it's been the issue as long as I've been alive. I mean, I don't think I was born too much after the development of the Fry and Kern Canal. As you may know, here in the Tehachapi Cummings area, we have a water district that has been engaged in sustainable groundwater management for over 60 years. It works. This is where California is pushing a lot of reticent districts, but we cannot depend on water being available every year from the skies. It just isn't there. It hasn't ever been there. And the overdrafting of our groundwater tables is causing havoc in many communities. It's causing um, uh, the sedimentation of land. Um, it's causing issues with available groundwater for local communities. So when we have excess water, as we've had in the last year, and maybe if you're counting last year, considering the drought before, a little bit of extra water, that needs to go into the groundwater table. In fact, the Central Valley is a huge aquifer, and it has the ability to become the biggest reservoir by orders of magnitude out of anything that we currently have in the state. So none of the dammed rivers uh, even come close to what is already available through a program of intelligent, sustained groundwater management. That is the future. That is the cure to groundwater availability and surface water availability within the entire state.
And thank you on that. There's another sort of like an issue because of the division between the services to the residents at the city level, the level, and the level. There's various ways that the supervisors can interact with the people that they serve and the service providers. And one of those would be the sheriff's department. Between the state, the city, and the county, what could a supervisor, Ben Dwell, do to address the crime issues, public safety issues that are really impacting our societies? Retail theft is one of the big ones. There's a Proposition 36 already on the ballot. There are some components that they've tried to address at the state level. Many argue that those levels of or means of addressing those issues are insufficient. Some of it related to the severity of the crime and how some of these crimes are brought down or repeat offenders. So, for argument's sake, if I was to go down to the local mall and come out with electronic goods from Best Buy, my 85-inch TV that I need, is lucky for me, it's only $949. They don't care. Even if I go a bit above that, then it's a misdemeanor. Prop 36 addresses this as a repeat offense. The legislature came out with something that keeps it out of the picture should I do that again. From a supervisor level, the sheriff's department, which you would have an impact with, how would you address public safety and these retail crimes that are impacting local communities?
Well, thank you for the question. And just for reference, my name is pronounced Duel, like Jewel.
Okay.
Yeah, I know
Apologies.
this is a big concern of everybody, and it has perhaps been overhyped to some degree by the media, but it still is important, and it's important to me and everyone else in these communities. We see it coming in to our small, isolated community at the end of the road here in Stallion Springs. Fortunately, we have our own police, and I think I can say with some amount of um, certainty that I probably am the only person who has signed a check for a new police cruiser for our district here. But my commitment is to listening to people's concerns, and this is a concern. And the concern I have as well is this law that was passed several years ago that didn't impose stricter penalties on crimes where the amount was less than $1,000. I think we're all recognizing that although that had good intentions, it didn't work. And I'm all about finding the best solution. And sometimes you have to go through the process of weeding out what doesn't work and what does work. So I'm all about looking at that. And in terms of being a county supervisor, you're right. We can only really have control over what our sheriff does. The other communities have their own policing, and they're pretty much separate in the hierarchy of things. But yes, crime and homelessness and the crime that develops from homelessness needs to be addressed. And I think it can be addressed by the supervisors in the way they control homeless encampments and how impositions are made on crimes in terms of whether they are going to be prosecutable or not. And I do think our swing should be in the other direction right now. Um, I think in some ways, we're looking at Tehachapi prison having shut down many of their pods, and they're only about halfway operational right now. I believe that was the last I heard. A couple of units being shut down. Well, that's a good thing in that you assume there is less crime, but that's sort of not what's happening. So on a very personal level, I can say that yes, I agree. You don't want to walk out of Best Buy with a $950 television and have it taken from you, because that's a big amount for you and I, um, and not sustainable. By the crime is not sustainable by the society. So I think the pendulum needs to swing in the other direction a little bit, and our support to the sheriff and to the state in terms of our state legislators is important in indicating that this is where our constituency is right now. And yeah, so that's. I hope I answered your question. If you have any more specific to ask on that, go ahead.
You brought in the issue of homelessness, and it correlates to crime too, because there are certain crimes that become relevant to us, and the labeling of the crime may be that it's from the community of homeless people. And there are certain challenges in that arena. We as a society look at humanitarian aspects of the quality of life, and in many cases, not many cases, we generally are a very charitable people. So when we see somebody in need, we try to help them. However, the current situation is increased or enlarged or impacted greatly when we have people who sort of have mental health issues. They are not able to sustain a lifestyle within sheltered housing that could be provided for them, even if it be an apartment complex or a housing, or even their domestic relationships that puts them out in that environment. From a county level, we've heard a lot of solutions over in Sacramento area. One of the concepts was tiny housing, or various projects that were being proposed on county property. As a supervisor, what would be your proposal to address the homeless issue? Now, the one side of this coin is if you're somewhere in New York, if you're somewhere in the Seattle, Idaho, Montana area, we have a period of time when it's freezing. There are not many ways that you could survive the elements if you're living in the open environment. So the solutions that Montana may have in the winter months are totally different from the solutions that Kern County has, because Kern County, the weather is pretty much, you could live it with the elements, you can live in nature year round. However, that quality of life for that community of that we may attribute to be homeless, and our own civilians, the people of the residents of the county, it impacts their quality of life. I had asked in relation to the homeless challenges that many of our counties are feeling. My correlation is what the solution in Montana may be to the solution in California. Again, Northern California and Kern County are two different environmentally, sort of from the weather concept, different. But in Kern County, what would be your proposal for addressing the homeless crisis?
Yes, well, this is a hard problem, and we're just going to have to work it out and try various solutions. And I appreciate the way everybody has looked at this as the kind of thing that we hope it is in many cases, and that is a humanitarian issue. But we know there are other issues involved as well. And, part of this has to do with the inequity of our society in terms of, financial abilities, and that is a much larger problem than I have control over right now, and would have control over in anything with Kern County. But I have looked at this, and I do believe that the um, tiny house idea is worth working on, but it may not have been my first solution. However, I do believe if it fits into the general concept of SROs, single room occupancy, and these used to be known as flop houses in the 1920s or 30s during the Depression. Um, but we have to offer people places for people to stay overnight. And whether that's in SROs or tiny houses, we need to keep trying till we find a solution, because other solutions that will correct this from the top federally just don't seem to be coming right now. So it is up to the individual communities. And you're right, we are very different from Montana, a place I love, by the way, as well as Idaho. They also have homeless problems, but California tends to be a magnet because of its good weather and some of its social, um, financial capabilities towards the homeless. I'm not sure that any of this is to the fault of California. We have the largest population. 1 out of every 10 Americans live in California. We're going to have the largest population of homeless. It's really a mystery, other than the pressure from the top in terms of economic standards, why this has happened in the last few years. But I don't think it speaks well to us as Americans that we have this. It also isn't fair to individuals in the community to have to deal with the trash and the chaos and the other things that evolve from that. We referred to the crime. But I'm not saying that these are crime-ridden places. In that sense, the mental health aspect of it is very important first. And people's social and mental health um, conditions need to be evaluated before any other thing happens. Um, I I really am at the point where with this that I just want to say we need to try everything that will work.
I appreciate that answer, and I do have a follow up on that. A few years back in Sacramento, one of the proposals was to take uh, some properties which were abandoned or not being used. One of these, I believe, was a hotel, and it had some renovation work proposed to it. But the concept of while great, and it could be a beneficiary for the city, the county, to bring in something that's not in use, renovate it, bring it back to use. We currently have a lot of state properties, government owned properties, which through various reasons of work, remote work or whatever, are not currently occupied to capacity. This specific property in Sacramento, the proposal was to spend 600,000 per unit to renovate it for housing of this homeless community. My personal problem is in Sacramento County, I could go buy a house, single family residence for less than 600,000. A builder like KB Homes or Lennar or any of these other builders were literally building homes cheaper than 600,000. As a citizen, as a taxpayer, why would I accept paying 600,000 per unit to renovate an existing property as opposed to just talking to KB Homes and say, "Hey, build me these homes. I need these homes, and I'm going to buy many homes what I can buy per budget and house these homeless people in it." It that economically, financially, it didn't make sense. But as a county resident taxpayer, if that was the issue, if that was the proposal, what can we expect from Supervisor Ben financially in this problem? Can we have some accountability?
Oh, I'm all about accountability and transparency. Anyone who has been to one of our meetings at the Stallion Springs Community Service District knows that. I may be the gadfly in terms of that. Um, oh, for sure. And I do believe when private sector can become involved it, successfully, it is always better than government becoming involved because government does tend to get bloated. Um, part of the issue, why this issue is so intractable, is because of the current cost of housing for everybody. It's putting that pressure on every kind of housing. But you did put your finger on what I was referring to in terms of SRO, single resident occupancy, and these are the kind of things that can help in solving this, but only if social services are included in changing the lives of people, because we know that many people are always going to want to live that homeless life, and for reasons of their own that really I'm not sure I have any solution for. But where people can be helped, they should be. And that's could be a sizable part of the homeless issue. The other part being substance abuse. And again, then that becomes a part of the policing issue, particularly when it affects communities outside the homeless, or at this point, unfortunately, that include the homeless. I again, I think you have put your finger on what what is important for me is that we try everything. And yes, it's all got to be transparent. It's all got to be accountable. And if it doesn't work, hey, I'm quite willing to say I voted for that. It didn't work. I'm going to try something else now. That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of where I'm at with my service as um, as a person of leadership in this community.
Well, thank you on that, Ben. Just a follow up on sort of what county services come to the people. Roads. A lot of money in our tax. We pay a lot of money in our taxes and property taxes but some of our roads are causing damage to our automobiles. You hit a pothole, it's going to have ripple effects to your suspension system and your wheel balancing and everything else. Not expecting the county to be contributing towards the repairs of my car because of that. Come first term as supervisor, what could we expect from the services the county to maintaining the roads? That it's not a totally county responsibility because there's a partnership that happens between the state and the county. But there are some county roads, there are some sort of roads that the county is responsible for that is just not a pleasant drive. So on that aspect, is there anything the county can do? Anything we can expect from you as supervisor?
Well, roads are very expensive. We know that here in Stallion Springs. We have our own road district. We don't depend on the county for any road repairs, any road development. That is all up to us. And getting the residents to understand that they are responsible for their own roads is part of the problem with serving this district. Now, you've mentioned in terms of the county. Yeah, so we don't depend on the county for our roads at all. And I'm used to that. If I become a county supervisor, well, then that's going to be my issue as well. The roads are very important for transport and the ability to make a living in this county. And we don't need our cars being damaged by bad roads. I think the roads is one of the issues that will sink any politician, although I'm not a politician, anywhere in the country, whether they're snow covered or not. We should make as much of the county funds available to this as is possible, because it is important for commerce. It is important to keeping the safety, the first responders on the roads. All these issues are dependent on transportation. And right now, our transportation in California is via roads. So I think that has to be a priority, that we do both develop roads in terms of their ability to serve the community and take care of them as we should, paving them and making sure the potholes are filled. All I can say with that at this point is that will be a priority, and has been my priority in terms of our roads, again, which are totally private, and we take care of ourselves here in Stallion Springs within Kern County. So I'm very sensitive to this issue.
Well, thank you, Ben. And with the time, sort of, we addressed many of the county issues that impact the local residents of Kern County and the supervisorial district at large. Wish you the best for come November, and I hope to talk to you once you're past the hurdle and you're sitting as supervisor for Kern County. I'd like to give you the opportunity of sharing your contact information with people who may choose to reach out to you and share their ideas and hear your views. So, next few moments, Ben, the candidate, and the information on how other people can reach to you.
Yeah, I'm always open to everybody. Again, my name is Ben Duell, like Jewel. Um, I can be reached at benduell.com, although that is a campaign site for Congress. There will be a link in there to my Facebook page where I've been posting all my activities for this particular race. And that best email for me is Ben Duell, that's BENDEWELL, SUP2. So that's Ben Duell, SUP2 at gmail.com. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ben, and wish you the best for November. And look forward to talking to you again in the near future. We'll conclude this session, and you know, basically do the best you can for November. ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਸੋਚ ਟੀਵੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕਾਲੀਰਾਏ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਬੈਨ ਡਿਓਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋ ਸੁਪਰਵਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਖੜੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਰਨ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੇਕਸਫੀਲਡ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਦੇਵੋ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਅਗਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਸੋਚ ਟੀਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ